Good morning, friends. I again welcome you for our next lecture on John Dryden and his contribution to English literature. Friends, in our previous lectures, we discussed Plato and his theory of imitation and his theory of inspiration. We also discussed Aristotle's poetics and Aristotle's ideas on tragedy. Then we discussed Longinus and his 5 sources of sublime. We have also discussed Dante and his ideas on illustrious vernacular. And we discussed Sir Philip Sidney as a classical critique in the last lecture. And today, in paper number 12, this is the last critique that you have to study, and that is John Dryden. John Dryden, friends, is considered as the father of English criticism. And this title has been given by Dr. Samuel Johnson to John Dryden. John Dryden lived during the 17th century. He himself was a dramatist, he himself was a poet, and then he became a critic also. Just after John Dryden during 18th century, there was another extraordinary literary personality, Dr. Samuel Johnson. Dr. Samuel Johnson is a noted critic of English literature and is also a well-known lexicographer of English language. Lexicographer means one who studies words, their meanings, the history of the words, etymology and all. And Dr. Johnson, the credit to Dr. Johnson is that he is the first person, he is the first literary person to write the English dictionary. This scholar, Samuel Johnson, has given this title to John Dryden as the father of English criticism. A question must be in your mind. Why John Dryden is considered as the father of English criticism? Because before John Dryden also, there were some other scholars, there were some other critics who have written criticism. Because we studied Sir Philip Sidney and his classical views on poetry and drama. We have studied Ben Jonson as a classical critique, his views on drama and poetry. But why Ben Jonson and why Sir Philip Sidney are not considered as the fathers? And why John Dryden, who came after that, after Sidney and Ben Jonson, is considered as the father of English criticism? Because the answer to this question is that because John Dryden is the man who has given his innovative ideas, his innovative theories on poetry and drama. If you think about Plato, Plato is not an English critic, Plato is a Greek critic. Aristotle is also a Greek critic. Longinus a Roman critic. Dante an Italian critic. Sidney no doubt an English critic, but Sidney's most of the ideas are borrowed from Aristotle and Horace Walpole. That's why we cannot consider Sidney as an important critic in comparison to John Dryden. Same is the case with Ben Jonson also. Ben Jonson has written and he has given a new theory of comedy of humor. No doubt, that was his innovation in the field of writing comedy. But as far as his views on tragedy, as far as his views on drama and poetry are concerned, most of his views are borrowed from Greek ancient literature, Greek ancient criticism. He also has borrowed his views from Aristotle and Horace Walpole. And that's why, we may not give him the title of the father of English criticism to Ben Jonson, neither to Ben Jonson nor to Sir Philip Sidney. Dr. Samuel Johnson has rightly considered John Dryden as the father of English poetry. Now the big question that must be in your mind is, what is John Dryden's contribution to English criticism? And if you want to understand this, you need to read his critical treatise, An Essay of Dramatic Poetry. Yes, Dryden, during 17th century, he himself is a poet. He himself is a dramatist. He has written a very important critical essay, and the title of that critical treatise is An Essay of Dramatic Poetry. This, in fact, is considered as the landmark in the history of English criticism. The landmark in the history of English criticism. Why? The question is, why is it considered as an important document in criticism? We will discuss this later, but let me tell you that the question is, why John Dryden wrote this essay of dramatic poetry? The answer is that, during the times of John Dryden, during the 17th century, it was a time when most of the writers were considering the French drama as the ideal drama. Most of the critics and most of the scholars during these times, they considered the ancient literature as the ideal literature, ancient drama as the ideal drama. Nobody had much respect for the English drama. Nobody had much respect for the English poetry and English criticism. It was left to John Dryden, who insisted and emphatically said that our English drama, our modern drama is far much better than the ancient drama. With much emphasis, he proved that our English modern drama is far much better than the ancient and the French drama. So the basic purpose of writing this essay of dramatic poetry was to vindicate the honor of our English writers from the censure of those who unjustly prefer French before them. These are the words of John Dryden. Let me write down these words here and then I will explain this. The question is, why John Dryden wrote this essay of dramatic poetry? The answer is that, the purpose of writing this essay is to vindicate. Vindicate means to defend. Vindicate the honor of our English writers, from the censures of those from the censor of those who unjustly prefer French before them. Prefer French before them. This was the purpose of writing the essay of dramatic poetry. Let's try to understand these lines. These are the words of John Dryden himself. John Dryden says that he wrote this essay to vindicate, means to defend the honor of our English writers from the censure of those who unjustly prefer French before them, because in those times there were some scholars, there were some critics who preferred French writers before the English writers. There were some scholars who believed that French drama is greater than the English drama. John Dryden, as a poet, as a dramatist, and as a critic, strongly believed that we must respect the British authors, English literature, because English literature, according to John Dryden, is far much better than the ancient drama, than the French drama. That is precisely what he wants to say in this particular lines. So, I hope it is clear to you that John Dryden brought to re-establish English literature, English drama on a higher pedestal, on a higher platform. Because in his times, there was a common saying among the scholars, Aristotle has said so. Because most of the scholars followed the lines drawn by Aristotle. And they believed that what Aristotle has said is complete and is correct and is absolute. But no, John Dryden said that so what Aristotle has said so. We have our own dramatists who may write in their own manner, and we must respect our English writers. Okay, so this was the basic purpose behind writing an essay of dramatic poetry. Now in this essay, let me tell you that this whole essay is written in the form of dialogues. It is written in the form of dialogues. Here, 4 characters are presented by John Dryden, and these 4 characters are Eugenius, Crites, Lycidius, and Menander. These are the 4 imaginative characters. And these characters in this particular essay of dramatic poetry, they start discussing and debating on the importance and the value of French drama, the value of the ancient drama, the value of the modern English drama, the value of rhymed verse or blank verse. So these discussions are going on among these 4 characters presented by John Dryden. And through this discussion, John Dryden wants to suggest a few very important ideas on drama and poetry. John Dryden begins, in this whole essay of dramatic poetry, John Dryden has presented a few things. Let me just tell you what these things are. In the beginning, he talks about the definition of drama. Definition of drama. Here he also talks about the function of dramatic poetry. Function of dramatic poetry. This is the first thing which is presented in his essay of dramatic poetry. Second thing, here he has presented a debate between the ancient drama and the modern drama. Ancient versus modern drama. The second thing. Third debate is between the French versus English drama. And fourth debate is about the rhymed verse versus blank verse. So, all in all, the whole essay of dramatic poetry presents these four discussions, and these four discussions are very important for us as the students of criticism. It begins with the definition of drama, and we will also start with the definition of drama. According to John Dryden, drama is a just and lively image of human nature, representing its patience and humors and the changes of fortune to which it is subject for the delight and instruction of mankind. It's a bit long definition, so let me write it down here, then I'll explain this definition to you. He says that drama is a just and lively image of human nature. Lively image of human nature, representing its patience and humor, and the changes of fortune to which it is subject, for the delight and instruction of mankind, This is the definition of drama as presented by John Dryden in the beginning of his critical treatise and essay of dramatic poetry. Let's try to understand this definition first. According to Dryden, drama is a just and lively image of human nature. Now here, two words must catch your eyes. Number one, just, and number two, lively. He says that the drama must be a just image of human nature. Now, this word image is also an important word here. Image is what? Image is a reflection. Image means what? Image means reflection. So, Dryden says that drama is the reflection of human nature. Number one. Now, reflection means what? It is imitation. Reflection means imitation. So you can say right from the beginning, Plato, when we discussed, Plato said that poetry is an imitation. Aristotle, when we discussed, Aristotle also said that tragedy is an imitation. And Sidney, when we discussed Sir Philip Sidney's contribution to English criticism, Sidney also said that poetry is an art of imitation. And Dryden also goes in the same line, but he uses different words to present the same thing. Dryden also believed that drama is the reflection, it is an image of what? It is an image of human nature. The primary job of a drama is to present our human complex nature. The complexity of human nature must be presented on the stage by the dramatist. But this image, for this word image, John Dryden has used two adjectives. These two adjectives are just and lively. The image of human nature must be just, number one, and must be lively, number two. Just means what? Just means real. He is talking about the element of realism here. So John Dryden wants to say that the human nature which is presented must be realistic presentation by the dramatist. There must be a touch of realism. It must be a just presentation, real presentation. Okay. At the same time, he uses another adjective for this word image, and that is lively. John Dryden's presentation, reflection of human nature, Dryden's ideas about the reflection of human nature is that it must be lively also. And liveliness comes from what? Liveliness comes from the element of imagination. Liveliness comes from the element of the use of figures of speech. So, both the things are very important. It must be realistic, but at the same time, it must be imaginative to make it look more beautiful. To make it look more impressive, it must be lively also. The drama must be written in such a manner that the whole presentation should look live. Liveliness and realism, these are the two important qualities, elements of drama according to John Dryden. So I hope the first line is clear to you that drama is a just and lively image of human nature, representing its passions and humors. Drama represents two things. Number one, patience, and number two, humors. Now, this is again very important to understand here that during 16th century, John Dryden was living, writing poetry, drama during 17th century. During 16th century, there were some writers, there were some dramatists, they were writing tragic comedies, they were presenting the mingling of tragedy and comedy. And there were some critics like Sir Philip Sidney who rejected the idea of the mingling of tragedy and comedy. The critics like Sidney, they did not allow the mixture of tragedy and comedy. They believed that if it is a comedy, it must be a complete comedy. If it is a tragedy, it must be a complete tragedy. And during 17th century, it seems that John Dryden is favoring and supporting William Shakespeare's plays, because William Shakespeare was an important dramatist of the 16th century who wrought this mixture of tragedy and comedy. And he says that drama must represent. Represent means what? Express. Express what? Patience and humors. Patience means emotions, feelings, and humors. Humors means intelligence, because humor comes from your wit. Drama must present, according to John Dryden, drama must present these two things, both the emotions and the intelligence, the wit portion. Okay, so this patient is actually connected, has a close connection with tragedy, because tragedy represents the emotions, pity and fear, which we discussed when we were discussing Aristotle. He also talks about humors. Humors are presented in comedies. Okay, so John Dryden believed that an ideal drama is one in which there is a mixture of tragedy and comedy. There must be a mixture of emotions, patience, feelings, and humors, wit, intelligence. Now the question is why? Why John Dryden believed like this? The answer is that human nature, because he said no, it must be the realistic presentation, just image of human nature. Our human nature is what? Human nature is very complex. Human nature is a mixture of tragic and comic actions. Our life is full of tragic and comic actions. Our nature is having the mixture of thoughts, tragic thoughts and comic thoughts, tragic ideas and comic ideas. So Dryden believed that no writer must be allowed to present a complete comedy, because nobody's life is a complete comedy and nobody's life is a complete tragedy. Life is a mixture of both tragedy and comedy. And that's why John Dryden said that if you want to give the exact picture of human nature, if you want to give the just and realistic representation of human life, then these patience and humors must go together in drama. Okay, let's move ahead. He said that drama is a just and lively image of human nature, representing its patience and humor. Both must be represented in the drama. And the changes of fortune to which it is subject. Our human nature is subject to the changes of fortune. Fortune plays an important role in man's life. And these changes, ups and downs in our life, which we see and which we experience, must be presented by the dramatist. Because drama is not something which goes in the same line. An ideal drama, according to John Dryden, is one which covers, which includes both ups and downs, the changes of fortune. Our human nature is subject to the changes of fortune, and these changes of fortune, changes of destiny, must be presented in drama according to John Dryden. And at last, in the last phrase of his definition of drama, he says that this whole presentation must be done for what? For the delight and instruction of mankind. Here he talks about the function of drama. Because what the function of poetry is, what the function of drama has been a very debatable question. For Plato, poetry must teach some moral lessons. To teach is the primary function of poetry according to Plato. And Aristotle went against that idea and he presented the theory of catharsis, and through that theory he proved that no, the function of poetry is not to teach, it is in fact to delight the readers. Sidney mingled both the ideas. Sir Philip Sidney mingled both the ideas, and he said that poetry is an art of imitation, a speaking picture with this and to teach and delight. So teaching and to teach some moral lessons and to delight, these are the two functions of poetry according to Sidney. But here, John Dryden goes in the same line of Aristotle, but differs a little bit at the same time when he uses another term called instruction. According to Dryden, the basic purpose of drama is to delight the reader. Primary function of the drama and secondary function of drama is to instruct the reader. Now there is a little difference between the word instruction and teachings. Dryden did not believe that it is the responsibility of the dramatist to teach something to the society. He believed that the dramatist instructs the society. Whether they want to accept it, fine. If they don't want to accept it, who cares? It is up to the readers how they take the play, how they take the tragedy, how they take the comedy. Okay, so I hope the whole definition is clear. Drama is a just and lively image of human nature, representing its patience and humors and the changes of fortune to which it is subject for the delight and instruction of mankind. And John Dryden said that delight is the chief, if not the only end of poetry. He said, delight is the chief. This is the chief. Chief means the main function. Delight is the chief, if not the only end of poetry. That means this, to delight the readers, to delight the viewers, the spectators, is the primary function of poetry, and if not the only. If not the only means there is another function of poetry, and there is another function of drama, and that is to instruct the readers, to instruct the viewers, and to instruct the spectators. I hope the definition of drama, the first portion of the essay of dramatic poetry, is clear to you. As I told you previously, as I told you earlier in this lecture, there are four things we have to understand. Number one, the definition and function of drama. Number two, the definition and function of drama just now we finished. The second discussion is about the importance of the ancient drama, the debate between the ancient drama and the modern drama. Third discussion is about the French drama and the English drama. And the fourth discussion is on the rhymed verse versus the blank verse. So, sorry, rest part of the essay of dramatic poetry we will discuss in the next lecture. Thank you.